This is Sky with Smart Poker Study. I know you want to win more value and steal more pots. You're going to do it by adding these 4 statistics to your HUD: c-bet the turn, bet the river, fold the turn, c-bet, and fold to river bet. Let me show you how to add them very easily to any HUD. We're going to demonstrate with the default PokerTracker 4 HUD here, and then I have 4 hand examples to show you how I use these statistics to earn more pots and more value. Gambate!
Certainly.
So let's get to work in upgrading your default HUD from this to this bad boy with 4 additional stats: c-bet turn, bet river, fold versus turn c-bet, and fold versus river bet. And when I say get to work, I truly mean it. Open up PokerTracker 4 and follow along right now. If you have your own special HUD, you can do it in that, or you could just select the default HUD, at least for practice right now. Get used to this process of editing HUD, then you can do your own HUD later. Now, in this 4-step process, you're going to simply move some stats around. You're going to delete one specific stat, and then we're going to add these 4 over here. The first thing, though, in PokerTracker 4, click the HUD menu button and open the HUD profile editor, and then in the dropdown, select the default HUD. Now, you can do this work directly in the default HUD, but I highly recommend going through, duplicating this HUD so that you'll always have the default HUD to come back to. And let's just call this default upgrade. It's going to be a cache, but you can make this for tournaments if you like. Just select OK. Now we have a new HUD that we're working with, and that default HUD is still in place for us. Now for the 4-step process to go from this to this here. Step number 1 is to move the number of hands and 3-bet pre-flop. We're going to take it from the hands abbreviated right here, the number of hands. Click, drag over to the left of player name or directly below notes. And then 3-bet pre-flop, click, drag it to directly below pre-flop raise. Now, one thing I like to see in my HUD, I like to arrange it in grid. You can see right now, c-bet is here. This 99 big blind is slightly to the right of it. Once you hit arrange in grid, everything is up and down in a nice grid-like pattern. Makes it easier to make reads on your opponent's plays because you know exactly where the stats are. Now, the next step is to delete live amount big blinds. This is for cash games. In tournaments, I do like having this stat there, but it's unnecessary. So click it, and with the keyboard, hit the delete key. Now you can see c-bet flop, and directly below it, fold to flop c-bet. Now, step 3 is to add c-bet turn and bet river to the top row. And if you'd like, you can add a prefix to remind you exactly what those stats mean, like the T for c-betting on the turn, R for betting on the river. So hit the plus button, choose statistic, and then in the search function, type in c-bet. The first one we want to add is c-bet turn, so just double-click it. It'll add it automatically to the right. And then now, let's change that search term, just bet. And then find bet river, double-click that one as well, hit OK. Now for the c-bet on the turn, let's say you just want to be reminded of it, add for the prefix a T and a space. Bam, T, and then there's the percentage. Same thing for the river, click this, scroll down to prefix, add an R and a space. And then now, turn and river stats, right in a row, flop, turn, river, nice and simple. Now step 4 in this process is to add fold to turn c-bet and fold to river bet to the bottom row. Hit the plus button on the bottom row, statistic, and then fold to turn c-bet. Right there, double click it, it added it to the right. And now fold to R bet. Now you might be wondering, Sky, why are we focused on c-bets for flop and turn, but then only on bet on the river? Well, that's because it's a more useful stat that accumulates more quickly than c-betting. You probably know from your own experience being a c-better or facing c-bets that a lot of people do not triple barrel c-bet. But quite often, the turn goes check, check, and you get to the river and somebody makes a bet or somebody faces a bet, and it's not necessarily a c-bet. That's why this just bet is more useful on rivers. Click OK. And then once again, let's go to fold to turn c-bet. Scroll down under prefix, we'll add a T and a space. Fold to river bet, same thing. Prefix, R space. Now you'll see we have c-bet flop, c-bet turn, bet river, fold to flop c-bet, fold to turn c-bet, fold to river bet. Now that you've done the work, hit apply. Now that your upgraded default HUD is in place, let's assign it to the table. Currently on this table, I have my smart HUD for PokerTracker 4. Click the PT4 symbol, change profile, and then select default upgrade. Move the HUD to the placement that you'd want right here. You could see these are some brand new players to the table or something. The HUD didn't pop up for them, but boom, we have our default upgrade HUD right here. And we can see in particular this opponent, c-bets on the flop, 3 out of 6, 50%. On the turn, 0 out of 3, a turn honest player. And then look at that, getting to the river, betting only 1 out of 7 times for 14%. And on the river, 5 times facing a river bet, he's folded 4 out of those 5. Seems like quite the river honest player. So now let's talk about 4 killer plays that you can use now that you have these HUD stats in place. The first example is making confident river bluffs in this right here with the king-queen offsuit. Couple of folds, an open raise, couple of folds. We elect to call knowing how turn honest and river honest this player is. Jack, 10, deuce, open ender, third nut flush draw, check. He bets 4.8. He's c-betting 50% of the time or so. This is easily a bluff. We have a ton of equity, couple overs, flush draw, open ended straight draw. All the reason in the world to call. The turn comes, another jack, pairing that top card. We check. He checks behind. I guarantee that board is so wet. If he had a jack, he would definitely come out firing right here. We know he's weak because he checked back in a spot where he's honest. That river comes a 5. Doesn't help us at all. It's also a blank when you look at the board. Awesome. This guy's river honest. Let's make a bet. 10 into 16, roughly 2/3 pot or so. And boom, it convinces him to fold. Lovely, confident bluff to be making. And now let's see one way we can use these stats to get value out of our opponents. We have King 8 suited with the default upgraded HUD right here. Couple of folds, and open raise. We defend with King 8 suited. We can see this player right here, c-betting 100%, 2 out of 2. On the turn, 0 out of 2. On the river, 0 bets out of 2. And he's folded 1 out of 1. River honest, plus also a bit of turn honesty right here as well. All the more reason, even if you don't like calling with the King 8 suited, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't like calling it, we see some easy ways to exploit this player because of his turn in river honesty as the c-better when we have position. So we call, flop comes down 9, ace, queen. He bets 2. We're going to call. We've got a lot of equity right now. We hit our nut flush at this time. He checks, and then we decide to bet, right? You got to get value while the getting's good, even though he is turn honest right here. He has a ton of hands, some random hearts, the 10 or the 9 of hearts. He has an ace that probably can't fold right now, not just yet, not before a 4th heart comes out at least. And he calls us, sweet. Now the 8 comes on the river. Wow. 4 to a straight, right? Any 10 makes a straight. There's flush possible. There's ace, 8, 2 pair. There's so much in his range that could potentially give our nut flush value. He checks, but we don't want to scare him off, right? He has bet on the river 0 out of 2 times, folded 1 out of 1, a river honest player on a very wet board. Let's bet something small. Maybe he can come over the top and bluff us, or at least call with just some random ace X kind of hand. We bet just half pot 8, and he calls us, sweet. And he turns over the ace 3. We got some good value out of a top pair. We did not bet bigger because of his river honesty. We didn't want to make it too easy to fold a weak ace on this super wet board. And another great play we can make now, more confident bluff catching. We've got the queen deuce suited right here, a couple of folds, min open, a call, and then we decide to defend as well. Let's take a look at these two players right here. On the river, villain 142, a little bit different than the prior 2 hands that we've seen. He bets 63% of the time, 5 out of 8, and he folds. He hasn't faced any bets yet, but he's definitely not a river honest better. This player over here, kind of like we've seen already, betting on the river 0 out of 2, and then folding 1 out of 1. A little bit of river honesty from this player when it comes to making and facing bets. Let's see what happens. Flop in the second pair. Comes out for a donk bet, 3 into 6. We decide to call with our equity at this point. And then look at this. He c-bets the turn only 33%. It's possible, depending on what that turn card is, if he checks to us because he goes from c-betting 80 on the flop to 33% on the turn. If he checks, we can choose to fire, maybe charge him for any draws with our second pair hand, or maybe just make a bet to bluff and try to take it down before he gets to the river, just depending on what that turn card is. Villain 141 decides to fold. Okay, we're heads up in position now. The turn comes a 9. Look how wet that board is. 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 3 to the straight right here. Oh, he checks, showing absolute weakness, but we do have a decently showdown-worthy hand right here. We just check as well. The river comes a 4 of spades. He bets 6. Now, what we've seen so far, he checked in a spot. Look how wet that board was. He should have fired with any strong hand. Let's imagine ace, king, king, queen, a set of 5s. Because he doesn't want to check and just let us check back, and a heart comes on the river, a jack or a 10 to make a straight, a diamond comes on the river. He showed absolute weakness with that turn check in a spot where he's honest. Plus, he bets a ton on the river. This is such an easy bluff catching hand, even though we have second pair weak kicker here. We call, and he shows the jack 8. Busted gut shot, busted flush draw, but we did get him to bet by checking on that turn. Now we've got one final play to discuss. That's overpaying on earlier streets to bluff the river if necessary when you know your opponent may be river honest. We've got the jack 6 suited, a few folds, a 3 big blind open from the small blind. We defend with the jack 6 suited. Now, one of the reasons that we're defending here is we take a look ahead of time. Before we even make this call, we see, oh, he c-bets 100%, 2 out of 2. On the turn, 0 out of 2. Turn honest. If we hit nothing on that flop, we call, and then we bluff turn. And then river, hey, honesty as well. He's only bet 1 out of 5 times. He's called 1 out of 3, but it seems when he's the better, he is honest on the river. Let's see if we can use that against him right here. So we decide to call. Flop comes down 5-7-9, got the gut shot, backdoor flush draw. He bets, oh, tiny little bit. Yeah, we're going to call. Let's see what he does on the turn, right? Turn honest player. Now that we've added this to the default HUD, we can easily see that. Ooh, 4 comes, giving us an open ender. I would prefer the 4 of spades, of course, right? Now, he is turn honest. Oh, he comes out firing big right here, roughly 3/4 pot. Now, quite often, I would make this fold unless that was the 4 of spades, giving us a flush draw as well. But let's try something. Let's call with our open ender at this point, 4, 5, 6, 7. But at the same time, we see that he is river honest. If we miss our draw on that river, if he checks, boom, we're going to come out firing. So we call. The ace comes on the river. He checks. Ho! If he had an ace, he would definitely triple barrel right here. You could imagine ace 5, ace 7, ace 9, ace 4 for making that double barrel. Now he just hit a 2-pair hand or even a top pair, ace king, ace queen right now. He would definitely come out firing for a 3rd street. His check in a spot when he's shown that he's honest in the past signifies total weakness. I come out firing 14 big blinds. I don't have any showdown value. I don't necessarily want to check back and hope my jack high wins, right? The only way to win this probably is to make the bet. This gives me a little bit more confidence that he can find a fold. Boom, he does find the fold. Now it's time for you to take action. Step number 1, like the video if you like the video, and leave a comment down below with the play that you love to make utilizing c-bet turn, bet river, fold versus turn c-bet, or fold versus river bet. There are definitely plays beyond these 4 that are very profitable utilizing these statistics. So, step number 2 for taking action. First, make these additions to your HUD, whether it's the default HUD or a different HUD, and then play with purpose to use the 4 statistics, put yourself in spots to use the plays above or any other ones that you know about or devise on your own, and pull the trigger as often as is profitable. Thanks much. I'll see you in the next one.